So today we are going to use the tins without lining. I don't have parchment paper, and this is an option you have when you don't have parchment paper. So I'm going to just grease with butter and just sprinkle some flour. This helps the cake not to stick. But we can make a cake goop, which we will do one of these days. So what I have here for my mise en place is eggs, sugar, butter, flour, and vanilla essence. Now for our lessons, it would be great to use regular flour, which is all-purpose flour, but I've been using self-raising flour for so long. Our measurements are 280 grams for each and every ingredient. We are not going to measure our eggs. We're just using 5 according to the recipe, but if you measure, it would come to about that much because each egg weighs about between 40 and 50 grams. So we've mixed our sugar and butter, and I'm going to just whip that with the hand mixer. And this is good for when you're doing small mixes. For bigger mixes or heavier butter, you would need to use a stand mixer, because one of these days we are going to talk about how this kind of work will damage your body, and it really does. But for today, let's focus on this. But this is an option for when you're learning. A hand mixer is great. We actually learned using a wooden stick, which actually gives you a very buttery mix. So for our eggs, I'm beating the 5 into this bowl. And you can either crack your egg on a surface or use something like a knife or a palette knife to cut through just like that. You get less of breakage of the shell. Make sure your eggs are clean because the salmonella sits on the egg surface. But like these eggs are washed and bleached, that also means they can't stay outside for long. They have to be kept in the fridge. So we have our 5 eggs. Ideally, I should beat 1 egg at a time in a bowl, or just add 1 egg at a time in a bowl in case there's one that's rotten. You hardly ever find these eggs rotten because they are kept in a fridge from the moment they brought to the shops, yeah? So it's very easy to just ignore that. But if perchance we get a rotten egg, do you see how that would be so messy if we added it into the eggs or beat it straight into the cake mixture? Yeah, so this part you're developing air. You're constantly just adding air by whipping the mixture. And I stopped here, not because my mixture is curdled as I'm adding the eggs, but to show you if your mixture ever curdles, then you can add some flour, the flour that you measured, to add into your cake. If you find your mixture curdling whenever you add the eggs, it means like the eggs are a bit more than the butter mixture. So you just add your flour to just get rid of the curdling. Okay, so I'm just showing you that, and in case you have to add your flour at that point, then you can use your mixer to beat in the flour. But ideally, if you're using your mixer or hand to beat your mixture, you can use a spatula to fold in, a spatula or a metallic spoon to fold in your flour. Okay, so that's what I'm using the mixer, because I'm still adding both the wet and the dry ingredients. All right, so here I added vanilla essence and 2 tablespoons of milk as I continue. So we'll keep adding our flour. This is self-raising flour again. No need to use baking powder unless, you know, your recipe calls for all-purpose flour. All right, so this is the way you fold in. I wanted to show you the both. I'm speeding the video here so it's not too long. We don't want a boring class. All right, so this is done. Our tins are ready. Our oven is ready to bake. So I'm just weighing this just to see if it's close to the measurements. It's close to half and half, yeah? Because we are baking the two. It's about 680 and the other is 676. So that's good, yeah? So we're going to spread to every inch of the tin, and often I bang it like that. This gets rid of the air bubbles, and while it's not required, you don't want huge bubbles when you're cutting your cake to decorate, because then you'll have to fill with frosting. So this just packs in your cake, so it's the crumb is nice and tight. All right, so our cakes are ready. I'm using this small convection oven, and I've set it for 40 minutes because of that size of a cake. So this will rise until it will go so high because of all the incorporated air and the leavening agents in the self-raising flour, and then it falls back once it's you know, firming up. Our cakes are done. They are wonderful. Listen to that. Okay, so we're going to leave them here to cool. You can tell they're done because they shrink back from the tin, and they already sunk back, yeah? They swell up because of all the beating, and then they shrink back. Now that size is what you want for a sandwich cake, a Victoria sponge, which we are going to make next, and this is just perfect. Hello my friends, how are you doing? So today we are frosting our vanilla sandwich cake, and we have the mise en place, and as the ingredients indicate, we are using 1 portion times 3 because I was making a lot of icing for a particular cake that we will decorate together. But for our vanilla sandwich cake, 1 portion would be enough. So we require 120 grams of aquafaba. That's the liquid in the chickpeas. I'm using the canned, but you can boil your chickpeas if that's what's available. And then we're using 200 grams of icing sugar or powdered sugar, and then 300 grams of butter. And then we can flavor our buttercream with a bit of vanilla. So we have speeded up the process, but you mix the sugar with the aquafaba until it becomes like silky, like a Swiss meringue, and then add the butter. I added stick by stick because I was using a stick butter. Then I whisked it using the wire whisk, and then I changed to this palette or panel beater, and that gets rid of all the air you incorporated. So for me, when I'm doing this buttercream, and the good thing with this buttercream is that you can warm it a little, like just 30 seconds in the microwave, and you'll have it a bit more silkier, especially if the butter was extra firm. And this is how it looks. So I had just a little remain after decorating a certain cake, but this is what we are going to use. So we are going to crumb coat our cake first. This is the consistency. As you can see, it's a good silky buttercream, and we are going now to crumb coat our cake. I put the paper towel there to just help me situate my cake board. I'm just using an 8-inch cake board for our 8-inch cake. So the cake board is usually at 10-inch so that you get some space. So I used 2 scoops of the buttercream, and what I'm doing here is just spreading it so I can sandwich. I will apply it just like you would butter to a toast or a slice of bread, and then I'm using the buttercream I put in the piping paper to just create a dam. This is what we call a dam, because if you're using a filling inside or just extra flavorings like this is a caramel and it's quite runny. You don't want it to run out of your cake, so that's why we use that dam. And then you put the top cake. I did not remove the caramelized part of this cake because it looks good enough, and I'm just crumb coating. This is just to seal in the crumbs that would be on the cake surface. This cake has been in the fridge since we baked it, so it's a bit contained, but sometimes you always find crumbs on the surface of the cake. So the first procedure is to seal it like that with that just a bit, you know, or a thin coat of buttercream, and then chill it in the freezer. The freezer is best for at 15 minutes or so, or you can use the fridge if you don't have space in the freezer. I know a lot of people just pack a lot of stuff in the freezer. You can put in the fridge for a bit longer, but 15 minutes in the freezer is good enough. So I'm using a very simple design. This is just to avoid using 2 coats of buttercream on our cake. So you can do this using a rose piping tip. This in the Wilton set I will show you because I got some tips for our work together. I will show you the size, and this just twirling it like that or taking it round like that will create something close to a rose, and this even a beginner can do. Now I know the Swiss Meringue buttercream is newer than the American buttercream we've always used, so it might be tricky for most new users. They prefer using something that's familiar, and this is actually a vegetarian buttercream, this kind, when you're using the aquafaba. The original Swiss Meringue buttercream is made using egg whites, pasteurized egg whites, or if you have to use egg whites from fresh eggs, you have to beat them on a bain-marie. So we will try that at some point just for our learning. So this is our simple cake, and I'm just going to throw some sprinkles on it just to make it a little more colorful. And we are going to cut now so we can see the inside. When you use sandwich cake tins, they are shorter tins, so you don't even need to cut in the middle. But if you want like 4 slices or 4 levels, 4 layers of cake, I don't know why I thought levels, 4 layers of cake, then you can cut through. Or if you bake a taller cake, then you can cut through. We will do that at some point. So that is how our cake looks. It's really good, don't you think so? Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.